Hi everyone, welcome to the second video on my journey of having a hair transplant. I've just got back from the clinic, that being Natural Hair Turkey, and as you can see, I've had a hair transplant done. I've had the front done and the crown. Not sure if you've seen that great, but I'll do some close-up pictures soon and post them online and show you what it's like. So I've been back about an hour. I'll keep this video probably fairly short and sweet. I'll just have a run through the good, the bad, the ugly about the procedure. Got picked up at 12 o'clock today, went to the clinic, sat in reception for about 5 minutes or so before one of the nurses came through. He took me through, along with the girl on reception who could speak English, through to a consultation room. And the first thing the lady said was, right, we need to shave your hair. The little bit that I did have on top, I did ask her whether it'd be possible to keep that, but her reaction was, it'll grow back. So it came off. Having looked back, I can understand now why you do, or they shave your head. It's one of the questions I did have coming into this procedure, is because I had DHI, and sorry, I don't think I've mentioned that already. It's a DHI procedure in which you can keep your hair a little bit longer, but the longer it is, I think it's the more difficult and the longer it takes for the guys to take out the hair out the back to then put into the front. So, and it's a lot easier for them to see the lines on your hair, where they start and where they finish, to make sure that they're putting it in the right place. So the bloke shaved my hair. We then went back into the consultation room, and one thing I found a little bit concerning, maybe a bit disappointing, was there was no real consultation after that, talking about what my hairline was going to be, going into depth about all the steps, things that you might expect if you're basically having an operation in a hospital. None of that. He asked me to, he put a gown on me, and then he asked me to lay down on the bench which was in the room and lay face down, because the first step was having anaesthetic in the back and the sides of my head. The bit I was most not looking forward to. So he started, and it did hurt. I'd say on a scale of 0 to 10, it was probably a 7, with 1 a little pinprick and 10 breaking your leg, probably a 7. But that only lasted for maybe 5 minutes or so, because he started there and was inserting all the way around. So when the anaesthetic goes in, you can feel it, and obviously you've got some kind of liquid solution touching in between your skull and your skin. It's clearly not going to be a walk in the park. Second time around, he went round again. Obviously the first injections had taken effect, and it was a lot less painful as he went round. And then I think he went round for a third time to put more anaesthetic in. And by the time that had happened, the back of my head, and the only way I can sort of explain it was, do you know the green stuff that you get, that you use for doing wreaths, and you push a flower into that? It felt like that, or quite leathery. It's a very strange sensation, but by the time he was finishing off, I couldn't really feel it, so that was good. After he'd done that, a lady came in who was going to be helping him. Again, I was down on my front, and they started the part where they take out all the hairs from the donor area. It didn't hurt. You can feel it going in and out, but after all the injections that you've had, that was the easy bit, really. That probably lasted about an hour and 15, an hour and 20 to get 2,600 grafts they've managed to get out the back of my head. I'm not sure. I think that's probably about an average amount, because of the area that's being covered. It's not the full top. I think that's probably all that they needed. If they needed more, they could have. But 2,600 came out. So once that was done, I sat up. A little bit dizzy when I first sat up, but I suppose that's to be expected with the blood rushing to your head. But I felt fine. There was some food then waiting for me, nice chicken kebab, rice, and some chips. So that went down well because I was starving by the time that point came around. So lunch done with, 20 minutes, half an hour. A lady came in and she went through the line on my head. She did one down the middle and she did X, Y, and Z and measuring up. Again, I suppose a little bit disappointed in that part of the process where it wasn't more in depth. I thought it'd be a bit more technical, but it wasn't. It was just a woman that came in, looked at me, put some lines on my head, the front and the back, showed me in the mirror and said, "Are you happy with it?" Which I was. She asked me to sign a form to say I was happy with the hairline, and off she went. 5 minutes later, another nurse came in, and it was his turn to do the anaesthetic in the front. So he started, and there's a couple of swear words. I think it was a little bit worse than the back, because I think your skin is thinner and tighter there, as opposed to a bit more fatty and fleshy at the back. So the ones that he did around there were painful, probably an 8.5 out of 10. But as with the back, once he'd managed to crack on with that, as he was going in later and later on, it became less and less painful. That probably took about 10 minutes or so before 4 other people walked into the room, along with the metal trolley with all my hairs on it, and the procedure began. It was a DHI procedure, as I told you earlier on, and again, hard to describe what it feels like. Something a bit like a staple, not only in terms of how it feels, but how it sounds as well. And you can actually feel it, each one going in. They have little pens which get filled with the hair, and that each one goes bang, bang, bang. So I think that's the difference between DHI and the other procedures that you can have, where it's a lot more targeted in where they put them. And from what I've heard, you get a better result, and less trauma to that area. Halfway through, especially down the front bit here, I did have to tell him to stop, because after about 10 or 15 ones that seemed quite close to the nerve, became quite painful. So they jabbed a bit more anaesthetic in around that area, and it was fine. The crown area, I could hardly feel at all. Obviously, you know it's going in there, but it doesn't hurt in any way, shape, or form. And so the whole thing took about an hour and 50 minutes for 2,600 grafts. Probably enough I'd had by then. One bit of advice: I would take some headphones. I was listening to an audio book, which really does help actually. Otherwise, all you'd be listening to is them talking in Arabic and a bit of Arabic music on in the background. So if you've got something to listen to, whether it's music, audio book, I would certainly recommend that. Yeah, they then put some liquid into me, so I had another jab in my arm, and there was a drip. Again, they haven't explained what that liquid is that's going into my body, but it was done. Once the procedure had finished, it was all again fairly relaxed. Sat me up, a little bit dizzy again from all the blood that's rushing to my head from having the procedure, but felt absolutely fine. I thanked them all before leaving, because I think on the face of it they've done a decent job. I'll do some close-ups in a second in the light, so you can see it a little bit better, and obviously the videos that follow, following the journey. Yeah, so I've got up. I've then gone back to the reception area, in which they've given me a bag, and in the bags an extremely dodgy hat, some shampoo, and some conditioner. They've also given me a certificate which states the number of grafts I had, and it's a certificate of warranty. Not sure how valid that is, but I've got one. Another thing they've given me is some instructions on how to wash your hair, and a selection of pills that they've given to me, which are in this bag. Don't know if you can see that. And then also what's going to be happening over the next 6 months or so. So that's a hair transplant. I'll just give you a quick close-up. You can see in the light. Over to the back. I think what they've done is any bits that they had left, they've put in the middle of my head, which was quite a thick area anyway. So we'll see how that turns out. Just a couple of answers on a number of questions. How much did I pay? So I paid £750 to have the procedure done. I booked this back in May of 2020, not long into the pandemic, and clearly, like a lot of companies in the world, they were struggling, and they'd done a 50% off offer. So I booked it, and they honoured that for 12 months. So I've taken the opportunity before Christmas and New Year to come over and have it done. So I paid in cash, so there was no credit card fees or debit card fees if you were paying on your card, but they do accept euros, dollars, any currency you like. So I would suggest bringing some cash over and paying the balance, which I did. I paid a deposit of $250, and I had $500 to pay, which I did that yesterday. Other bits and bobs that I spent money on. So the flight, I got a flight from Heathrow. Time of the year, pandemic. I got a good deal. It was £185 return. I actually live in Jersey, so I've got 4 flights: Jersey to Heathrow, Heathrow, Istanbul, Istanbul, Heathrow, Heathrow, Jersey. So £185 for 4 flights with British Airways I've dropped on there. Really, really good. Me, a bit of food, some water, Pringles, all that sort of stuff. I'd call it £1,000 all in, which I think is looking good value. Hopefully I'll be able to report back in 6 months that it's the best £1,000 I've ever spent, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, that's me done for now. I'm going to do a video again in about a week to see and show how it's gone. Hopefully the redness has gone down a little bit. But lastly, please subscribe and like so other ladies and gentlemen out there can keep track of this, because hopefully it's going to be helpful. Cheers. Bye.